Welcome to this ChannelX Leaders Interview. Absolutely delighted to be joined by Diana Nolting today, Chief Product Officer at Linnworks. So welcome, Diana. How are you?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm doing great today and excited to chat.
So you've been at Linnworks for something like five and a half years or so, because you actually were at SKUVault before, where Linnworks acquired a few years back, and now Chief Product Officer at Linnworks. So just tell us a little bit about yourself and how did you come to be Chief Product Officer?
Yeah, absolutely. I had the distinct pleasure of joining SKUVault in December of 2020, which was the exact right time to be entering the e-commerce space with everything changing. And it was a really exciting time to join SKUVault, which is primarily a warehouse management product in the United States. So I got to live through the hockey stick growth in e-commerce and then helping all of those businesses reconcile for the post hockey stick growth era of e-commerce. And then when Linnworks acquired SKUVault, it was really just a fantastic opportunity to up-level both my skills and the products together as we were able to serve a broader set of the market and really grow into that. So I've been in the chief product officer seat for a little over a year now, and just absolutely thrilled to be able to serve our customers with a research focused approach and really build a relationship with the market so we can keep helping them grow their businesses, because that's what gets me so excited every day.
Fantastic, and must have been a real roller coaster through the COVID years, as you say. And a great time to start a business.
It was, yeah. And just every business we serve, I love learning about because they've all grown in such a unique way. So it's so motivating to see the impact that helping their growth impacts each individual community and each of their, able to hire jobs and help get their products out across the globe. It's been really incredible to see the impact that makes.
And talking of these businesses that that Linnworks and SKUVault serve, I want to dive into this and pick your brains. I'm going to start off with the biggie, which is not the positives but the negatives. What's the biggest operational blind spot that marketplace sellers have today as they're scaling across? I want to say multiple channels, but 20 years ago, at least in the UK, there was eBay and Amazon, and Etsy and Not on the High Street and a few others. But now there are so many channels, and not just marketplaces. There's Pinterest and TikTok and Temu, and there's a new retailer becoming a marketplace on a platform like a Miracle or a marketplace or an Avatar practically every day. So what are the blind spots you're seeing? Where should marketplace sellers be focusing to look after and nurture their businesses?
It's a great question. And when we think about those blind spots for expanding to additional marketplaces and finding more reach, there's really two different levels that they start to hit. And the first is not getting the right operational processes in place before they start scaling and making sure that they have inventory accuracy across multiple marketplaces. That's really the first pain point that we start to see, is not recognizing that expanding out is going to add complexity. But once they've got that backbone of an operational system in place, once they have a system that helps keep inventory accuracy correct, and once they start to build with that, then the biggest blind spot we see is actually being afraid to add more marketplaces and afraid to experiment. And they, especially if they were burned the first time by not having the right processes in place,
Yeah.
then they see a real hesitation and they feel like the lift is too high to try a new, seller marketplace. You might not have 50% of your orders coming through a new marketplace, but you can certainly add up with all those tertiary channels. So just trying new things and trying to meet customers where they're at, you can learn a lot once you've lowered the operational overhead of expanding onto a new marketplace or a new fulfillment model, and then taking that learning in a really agile approach. So it can be a double-sided blind spot, particularly if you've been burned the first time. But once you have those trust in the processes you have, then just trying new things and trying new marketplaces can help grow, and you'd be surprised sometimes how that.
Yeah, and I think the problem is just accelerating, because practically every day there's a new marketplace nowadays. It used to be maybe one new marketplace in the world a year. Now everyone, I mean, the latest big one in the UK to announce is Argos are opening up a marketplace, and it's just increasing that operational complexity.
100%, yeah.
But I've got another question, which is, I see so many retailers using solutions like Linnworks, but they don't fully utilize Linnworks. They use it for managing the marketplace sales, but they're still relying on so many manual processes in their operations, whether it be producing the pick list, and I know you've, as well as Linnworks, you've got SKU to help there as well. But it's almost, a lot of businesses still almost rely on paper operations. Why is it that businesses are still doing things manually? And well, we're in 2026 now.
100%. This was some really interesting data we were able to pull out as we were taking a look at where the customers were spending their time and where they're actually spending time clicking buttons versus letting the automation run. And so when we spent a lot of time talking to customers and said, how might we help you automate these processes? How might we help you improve? And the vast majority came back and said, we're 100% optimized. I know we're 100% optimized. You might need to help your other customers, but I promise.
I hope you're about to tell me about Linnworks Spotlight now.
I am, yes, because this is kind of how this impetus came to be. So all the customers we talked to said, I'm 100% optimized. You can help other people, but trust me, I've got this. We do millions of orders a year. We've got this under control. And we found that those most under optimized had no correlation to the number of orders, had no correlation to the number of the amount of their GMV, or even the number of channels. Those who had the most under-optimized stack grew the fastest, had the biggest order growth, because at that point, you just get the orders out. You're so excited about the growth, you don't stop and think, I wonder if we're doing this as best as we could. And you just keep using the processes because orders keep coming in, GMV keeps increasing. Like, why would I stop the train? It's running, it's smooth.
You've got to ship the orders because they've come in.
100, exactly. Like, that's a great problem to have. We have so many orders, how are we going to fulfill them? And so as we started to feed that data back, we were able to shine a light where they weren't able to see. Because if it just feels like it's working, well, something might feel off in your gut, but you can't see it. You don't have the data. You don't know how to optimize it. So a lot of the businesses still relying on manual processes didn't know how to fix it, didn't know how to find the data, didn't know how to see at aggregate scale because they got orders to get out, right? If you don't have a lot of orders to come in, you've got a lot of time to try to optimize your process. That's a different problem to have.
But you've got a lot of time.
Exactly. Your problems are a little different. So what we've been able to do with Spotlight AI is actually take all that data and funnel it through an algorithm and some artificial intelligence that analyzes that at scale, finds the patterns for the best recommendations, and then delivers that to customers so they can automate. And we've been able to see really incredible, results from that. We had one customer who reduced their manual actions by 98%, which saved them 6 to 7 hours a week. And they said, yes, the data is amazing and they're saving their team so much time. But they said at 4 o'clock when the trucks come, there's calm. They haven't had calm in so much time. So the impact we've been able to make on that, the average that we're seeing is 50 hours of savings across businesses who are doing massive scales of orders, but also smaller. So it's just taking a moment to say, oh my gosh, we're growing so fast. What could we be doing different, or should we be doing different before it becomes a problem? Because you're going to pick up a lot of gain in that sense.
Yeah, and I think that it is literally that scale, that what works when you're doing 100 orders a day doesn't work when you're doing 500 a day, and what works for 500 a day doesn't work when you're doing 1,000 a day. And
yeah, and there's a confidence and vulnerability of that too, right? Because it doesn't work when you grow bigger, but it's also what got you to grow bigger. So you're afraid to tweak what's working. So it's, trust the data, trust implementing the processes, but also lean into the automation, because that's going to, it feels scarier, but it's actually de-risking your business because we can trust it more.
So Spotlight AI, I'm fascinated by what AI can do these days, but where is AI actually delivering real measurable value for e-commerce businesses today? What should we be getting excited for when we're talking about AI?
Absolutely. There's so many different problems that we can apply AI to, and some are icing type problems, which are nice to have, and other kind of core fundamental. So when we look at our customers, about 67% are using AI to try to create content, right? That's an easy, low-hanging fruit. It's also a safe problem, because if you don't like the content, you just redo it, right? Like you just kind of work with it, you train it, you work, it's a safe problem. So we do see the biggest adoption in that area. And then we see about 37% of businesses using AI to understand their data, which is a much harder problem, because you've also got to know when it's sending you down the wrong hallway. So really trying to understand what that data means and trying to make sense of it for your business and grow is a little bit messier of a problem. So making sure that you have a gate to make a decision as you being the expert in the business versus just blindly implementing is a really important gate at this stage of the technology. We still see about 26% of businesses not reporting not doing any AI at all. So they have another challenge of you're going to get left behind, right? Because there's more hours in the day if you're applying it to safe and unsafe problems. But I think it's that mix of, we see a lot of different providers out there trying to implement AI or give AI tools that say AI will run your whole, hard problem. That's a little dangerous too. So it's about finding the right problem set to apply the right tool to, as opposed to that AI washing, where it's just.
And I think it is scary because I'm not running Linnworks, but I'm an editor and I use WordPress daily. And we've got a fantastic tech guy, but he's now using AI to write the code and then he sense checks it because it's so much quicker than writing it from scratch. And I just think there's so much that could be done in a business where you could just get AI to do a routine and it will then automatically follow your orders forever, and the problem just goes away. You never have to worry about it again. It's just automatically like an extra worker in the background.
Yeah, and it's how you guide that worker, how you watch that worker, how you trust that worker. Because if you hire anybody brand new in the business, you wouldn't say, all right, I'm never going to chat with them again. I'm just going to trust them to do everything. Well, that would be magic. AI is neither fail-proof either, right? So we just need to make sure it changes how you have to ask questions, and it changes how you have to watch the implementation and critically evaluate. So I do think it elevates the level of critical thinking needed by the human brains in order to get the most out of it. And I think that's where we'll see some falling down, is when you start to take the human critical thinking element out, because it's just not going to be. If you let it keep running, you'll never redirect and kind of provide that coaching and training.
So I've got a question on AI for you. I'm going to kind of throw this one back in your face because you're the Chief Product Officer at Linnworks. So should we be waiting for Linnworks to produce tools like Spotlight AI to help us? Or should brands and retailers be thinking about going off on their own and creating their own AI tools specific to their business? And there's benefits and risks to both, upsides and downsides. But what would you recommend for businesses that are thinking, yeah, I should be using AI, but should I be waiting for someone else to build the robust tool, or should I be creating my own tools?
Yeah, it's a great question. What's interesting to me about that question is it's not unlike questions 20 years ago about, should I build all the in-house expertise to build my website,
or should I use
my
Linnworks?
mobile app? 100%. Or should I use the right tools and companies to help augment that? And so the right answer to that question is more nuanced in my mind, and that is, what is your business going to be the best at? So if your business is going to be the best at software, technology, and tools that are safe, usable, and scalable, then yeah, that's what your business should be. But every business can't be good at everything. So you need to use the right mix of trusted partners, tools, and software, which will help you increase your learning curve. Because if your business is fashion and really comfortable blazers, should you be spending your resources on making that the best possible and making sure that you meet, all your customers where you need to and optimizing for growth the right way in marketing and sales? Or should you be innovating to figure out the best AI tools to help automate your shipping couriers? You should probably use a best-in-breed software to solve that problem, because the next blazer manufacturer is going to beat you where you actually are making your money. So I think it comes back to those same common business practices, which shiny tech can be, fun, but you've got to keep coming back to, okay, what should my core business be and what should I trust a partner to? Which was very like cloud computing when I first got into cloud decades ago. It was, okay, but I need to host it myself. I need to hold it myself. I need to see the blinking lights.
We don't even call it cloud computing anymore. It's just SaaS, software as a service. We all use it all the time.
I worked for an early data center, and we used to have coffee mugs that said, there is no cloud. It's just the computer, like at the end of the day, which is kind of what we're leaning into now, is just make sure you're focused on growing your business and competing in where you need to compete, and use those best partners to help use those tools to solve the problems you have. I think inventing your own tools or building them is fun, but you've got to really figure out where your energy and resources should be going to.
I have to say, Diana, I'm loving speaking to you, because I'm guessing you can also remember when thin clients were all the rage, where you had a computer with no hard drive or processing, and all it did was speak to a server somewhere.
I mean, cloud has been around for the whole time, right? We just changed the name. They were big servers and big IBM room machines, and then that's it. It all comes to be. So what's really cool to see is the speed of innovation happening. I think that's the other area where I don't think retailers and brands are going to be able to compete with those tools. So use the best tools and use them to grow your business as well.
And talking about using the best tools, life's a lot more complicated nowadays because there's so much choice of software solutions out there. How should sellers think about building a resilient e-commerce tech stack for their operations today? Because in the past, it would be you'd buy one tool to do one job, but now you've got something like Linnworks, which can do so much for you. And then should I be just using Linnworks, or should I use SKUVault as well? And that's a safe bet because now it's the same company. But then you might be thinking, actually, maybe I should have a specialist shipping solution to plug in, or maybe I should use one of the many Linnworks partners, tech partners, to produce some plugins for me for the one thing I need that Linnworks doesn't actually do. But the more you bolt on, the more difficult it is to keep everything stable. Yep. So resilient e-commerce operations stacks, what should we be thinking about?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's one that I think should be evaluated as you hit different scales of your business. One of the biggest mistakes we see is the really small businesses thinking the answer is fully customized or custom software, because the overhead that you start to get into there, you're never going to be able to dig out the hole, because you've got to maintain it, and things change, and Amazon changes every, X number of days, and eBay changes.
Every 5 minutes, you mean?
I was being generous, yes. It changes, right? So how do you lean into that? And I think it really helps, particularly as you're, a $5 million business, lean into a commercial off-the-shelf offering that can grow with you, and make sure that your provider and trusted partner can help you grow through that certain stage. And we hope there comes a graduation day when you're a $1 billion company where you need to start evaluating process differently. But I think really when we're talking about $5 million to $100 million or $200 million retail business, you want a partner that you can tailor but not customize. And I think that's an important nuance. You want to make sure your processes keep rolling, but that you don't overly customize, because that's going to continue to be overhead that grows and grows. It's never a one-time fee. And that's a big thing that I see quite often is companies think, yes, but I can fully do this, custom software out of the box. And they've said it just cost me this one time. It never, ever, ever does. Yeah. And that's a hard lesson to learn.
Wipes it out and the customization 100%. Doesn't work. And then you redo it in the next update.
And then you decide to change your, back end headless, what have you, and then nothing plays nice. So you want somebody that's going to help you grow and help grow with you, and who's seen bigger than you are. So they can help shepherd you through that and act as a true partner. So that's the biggest thing I'd lean into, is make sure that you're not the biggest fish in the sea, and that you're growing with a really standard solution that you can tailor but not customize. And that's going to give you a lot of optionality through that whole phase of your life.
So there's one other thing I wanted to ask you about before I let you go, if I may. And that is, what is e-commerce looking like this year? You just recently launched your State of E-commerce Operations report for 2026, and there was so much in it. But what's the biggest takeaway that brands and retailers should be thinking about for 2026?
It's a great question. I think resiliency has to be the biggest thing to take away, because particularly there's so much impact of just the global macroeconomic change that retailers will not be able to control at all. So you're not going to be able to control if a shipping provider you're using can no longer use that route. You're not going to be able to control sometimes if your purchase orders can't get there, particularly as we just have so much uncertainty. And we've seen that in the last few years with shipping couriers, and we've seen that with, we certainly saw that through COVID. So making sure that you have options to adjust. So if a shipping courier shuts down, you can very quickly migrate those orders to continue to fulfill the promise. If you're having trouble getting an item in stock, you have backups and optionality. So making sure that you have resilient paths across the board, adding additional marketplaces, adding additional fulfillment models, making sure you can adjust quickly because you have that foundational block in place. That's going to be really important in the coming year, because there's going to be so little we can control. So you've just got to be able to roll with the wind that blows through.
Diana, I want to thank you so much for your time today. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking to you, and look forward to having you a guest on ChannelX TV again in the future. So thanks so much for your time.
Absolutely. Thanks so much. It was a wonderful conversation.